This video is presented by Barbarian Apparel. Before we get to this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's get right into the video.
Sushil Kumar was born in Brapola village in southwest Delhi, India in 1983. Kumar was inspired to take up wrestling by his father, who was also a wrestler, and started training in Pawani wrestling at age 14. Pawani wrestling is a form of wrestling contested in South Asia, where matches are conducted on a circular-shaped dirt surface that's 14 feet in diameter. Sushil trained at the Akada, or a wrestling academy within the Katrasal Stadium. The Katrasal Stadium was built in 1980 and was a multi-use facility, but really it was always known as the home of India wrestling. The Akada was started in 1988 by Satpal Singh, a 1982 Asian Games gold medalist. The Akada would house and train youth wrestlers with proven potential in the hopes of turning them into India's best wrestlers. Training is your entire life at the Katrasal Stadium, with sessions from early morning to late night. Sushil Kumar would be dropped off by Katrasal Stadium by his parents when he was 14, and he would spend over the next 2 decades of his life there. When Sushil began training in freestyle wrestling, his first success came at the World Cadet Games in 1988, where he won a gold medal. Once he moved out of junior competition, Kumar would prove to be a force for India wrestling when he placed 4th at the 2003 World Championships, but would disappoint the next year in Athens at the 2004 Olympics, as despite qualifying for his country, he would place 14th in the 60-kilogram weight class, failing to medal. Come 2008 at the Beijing Olympics, Kumar would lose his first-round bout in the 66-kilogram freestyle wrestling event. After this loss, in a span of 70 minutes, Kumar would go on a 3-match tear to claim the bronze medal, in the process beating USA's Doug Schwab in the first round of repechage. This was India's first Olympic medal since 1952. He was a national treasure after this and would receive the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna. He was a national treasure after this and would receive the Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna award, India's highest honor for a sports person, in 2009. Kumar followed this up by claiming a world title at the 66-kilogram weight class in 2010 at the World Wrestling Championships in Moscow. He was now the first Indian wrestler to win a world title. If Sushil had not already cemented himself in India wrestling history, in the 2012 London Olympics, he would earn the silver medal after losing to Tatsuhiro Yonemitsu of Japan in the finals of 66 kilograms. He now could add first Indian wrestler to win 2 individual Olympic medals to his accolades. He was the pride of India and came back an icon. When many people in India witnessed Kumar make history for his country in 2012, it is said that he inspired many in the country to take up wrestling, and in turn the popularity of the sport was booming in India after his Olympic run. The Katrasal Stadium, where Sushil had trained his entire life, was now the mecca for wrestling in India, and anyone with grand aspirations to succeed in wrestling would go there to train under the same roof as Sushil Kumar. Sushil was enjoying his celebrity at this point in life, and had plenty of advertising and endorsement opportunities after his second Olympic medal to make serious money for himself. In 2013, Sushil was appointed as Administrative Officer of the Northern Railway Sports Association and would become a senior commercial manager with Northern Railway, where his hands would be involved with real estate in Delhi and the surrounding towns. He later was posted on deputation in the Delhi government's education department as the officer on special duty at the Katrasal Stadium. Sushil, who had always resided in Katrasal Stadium, had now turned it into his own personal kingdom, where he could both train and carry out his business dealings. However, Sushil's business dealings were known to be shady. When he became involved with real estate in the Delhi area, it's believed around this same time Sushil began getting involved with prominent gangsters and criminals in the area. It's reported he joined forces with wanted gangster Khalid Jathidi, and together they would grab disputed properties in Delhi, and with these properties they would shelter criminals belonging to the Jathidi Lawrence Bishnoi gang, where they could conspire and plan out their crimes. From this point on, it seems Sushil Kumar's life trajectory would continue to take a darker turn. Kumar was still training and competing at wrestling at this point in time, but definitely had more distractions now and was more choosy when he competed. At the 2012 Olympics, the United World Wrestling would reorganize the Olympic weight classes, and Sushil's weight class, 66 kilograms, that he had medaled at the previous 2 Olympics was now gone. Sushil had been injured for some time before the 2016 Olympics and had not wrestled any major tournaments in a while. Sushil would not be awarded the spot at 74 kilograms for India, as Narsingh Yadav had won bronze at the weight the previous year in the World Championships and was entitled to the spot. Sushil fought hard in court to appeal this, but would not be successful. Days after their court case, Narsin Yadov would test positive for steroids at a random drug test and would lose his accreditation for the 2016 Rio Olympics. Yadov first thing accused that he had been sabotaged by Sushil Kumar, and this case would be taken up by the Central Bureau of Investigation. After investigation, it was found there was no foul play from Sushil, and Yadov would be hit with a 4-year ban on the day before he was supposed to wrestle in the Olympics. Although cleared of suspicion, this was a bad look for Sushil that many would not soon forget. Even at his own Katrasl Stadium, it seems at some point Sushil had become more of an intimidator than a mentor at the Akata. It was said any wrestler who did not support Sushil's camp was forced to leave the stadium, and there have been allegations that this is the reason Bajrang Punia would leave Katrasl Stadium in 2014. Although increasingly disconnected from the sport, Sushil would continue competing after losing the 2016 Olympic spot. At a selections trial for the Commonwealth Games, fellow wrestler Praveen Rana accused Sushil of instigating his supporters to beat up both Rana and his brother at the event. Sushil would be booked for assault and criminal intimidation, but the India Wrestling Federation would ultimately do nothing. Sushil would go on to compete at the 2019 World Championships, which was a Tokyo Olympics qualifier, but would suffer a first-round loss, failing to secure the 2020 Olympic spot. By this point in time, Sushil was 37 and on the outs physically to be competing among the best. After a lifelong buildup, Sushil's ego seemed to struggle to handle this reality. Sushil was now dealing with the loss of clout among his younger peers at the Katrasl Akata, and there was whispers of them speaking ill about Sushil amongst each other. At the same time, Kumar was having a falling out with his gangster business partner, Kala Jathidi, over property in the model town area of New Delhi that they had went in on together. With this falling out, Sushil decided he would join forces with jailed gangster Niraj Bhawana and his gang, which would also piss off Kala Jathidi even more. On the fateful day of May 4th, 2021, Sushil Kumar would get into an argument with a young wrestler by the name Sagar Dankad. Sagar was 22 at the time and had been training at the Katrasl Stadium since he was 15. He had won gold at both the junior and senior national championship and was currently a Greco-Roman wrestler at 97 kilograms for India. Sagar and Sushil were arguing over a flat that Sagar currently resided in and rented from Sushil. They were arguing about rent, and Sushil demanded that Sagar vacate the flat, but he refused. Sagar and others of his friends at the flat would continue to insult Sushil repeatedly. This other friend was Sanu Mahal, who happened to be the nephew of Delhi gangster Kala Jathidi, who Sushil had just cut ties with. Eventually an agreement was reached between the parties, but the damage to Sushil's ego was already done. Sushil decided that both of these young men would need to be taught a lesson. Sushil would recruit Bhawana gang members to go back with them to the flat later that evening, where they would abduct Sahar Dukhan and Sanu Mahal, along with 4 other of their friends at the flat, and take them to the Katrasl Stadium. When they got to the stadium, there was more members of the Bhawana gang and other recruited force waiting for them to arrive in the parking lot. They all carried long sticks, and with the sticks proceeded to beat Sahar, Sanu, and the other friends for over half an hour. Sushil would have his associates film the assault, so he could use it to send a message to anyone who dared try to disrespect him again. At some point, Sanu was able to escape and called the police to the scene. By the time cops arrived, the scene had dispersed and the victims were taken into hospital care. Sahar Dankad would unfortunately not be able to survive the injuries he sustained from the assault and would pass away on the morning of May 5th. With the criminal investigation launched, Kumar was named the main accused in the murder from a first information report filed by one of the victims. Along with this, Sushil was now being hunted down by Kala Jathidi and his gang, as seeing the video of his nephew being beaten by Kumar enraged him. So now a wanted man, Sushil went on the lam and ran from police and gangsters across the country. It was said Sushil actually feared being caught by the gang members more and was desperately trying to make amends with Jathidi while on the run. However, after over 18 days on the run, Sushil would finally be located and arrested by Delhi law enforcement. India's only world champion and Olympic wrestling hero was now facing the charges of murder, abduction, and criminal conspiracy. In interrogation, Kumar would later admit that he was only wanting to teach them a lesson and never meant for the night to result in Sahar's death. Sushil is still awaiting trial for these charges and is held in the New Delhi jail currently. The most recent updates are that Sushil has been denied bail as he's a fleeing risk. Witnesses are terrified to have court in the city of Sushil's influence, and Sushil has now become a wrestling and fitness instructor inside the Tihar jail. Although Kumar Sushil has been able to evade the consequences of his controversies for years, this one seems to be the one that ends his wrestling career. The arrest of Sushil Kumar exposed the dark underbelly of India wrestling and its strange connection to organized crime in the country. Wrestling is one of India's greatest prides and considered sacred. The fall of Sushil Kumar is a dark blemish on the sport's history in India. Regardless of the outcome in Sushil's trial, India looks ahead to its future stars to move past it. Both either past or current Kotrasl Stadium residents, Bajrang Punia and Ravi Dahia each earned Olympic medals for India this past summer in Tokyo and look to be the new hope for India in the legendary Kotrasl Stadium to start a new chapter in wrestling. So that's pretty much it about how the story of India's greatest Olympic wrestler became an accused murderer. Let me know what you guys think of this story. Be sure to like the video, and if you haven't already and enjoy our content, please hit subscribe. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys at the next one.